You are the author of this book, Ancient China's Tao Te Ching in Gonzo, by Nobody Xpecial. Introduction. I am the universe, embodied and personified. Life is the sensation of the universe becoming self-aware. I navigate 4 dimensions of reality, 3 dimensions of space-time, X, Y, and Z, and 1 dimension of movement through space-time. I work by chemical presence and the 3 waveforms, electromagnetic, gravitational, and mechanical. If I believe that a Big Bang created all energy that has not since been recreated or destroyed, it seems that, under the governance of strong and weak nuclear forces, my energy folded onto itself to create chemical presence. Hydrogen was my earliest chemical. From this scalable building block, heavier chemical presences formed to fill a predictable periodic table of elements. As mass amasses, gravitational waveforms generate around self-contained bodies. When bodies collide, mechanical waveforms are produced. If I believe the universe is a closed circuit of electromagnetic communication, I notice it houses a smaller closed circuit as the Milky Way galaxy. This happens again as Sol's planetary system, and again as Earth's magnetic field. Each conducts electromagnetic polarity. Each maintains its own gravitational center and field. Each acts as a capacitor, regulating the flow of energy by storage and release. Each was compelled under the momentum of the original collision and its subsequent feedback of equal and opposite reactions. Under the right electro-chemo-mechano-gravitational relationships, atoms may bond their outermost electron shells to form a molecule. Molecules may lock surface topographies to form amino acids that scale to form proteins that scale to form a cell membrane. Human cells formed a second membrane surrounding the first. These scale to form tissue membranes that scale to form 11 self-contained organ systems to compose my body. Form functions. All of my systems are decodable by form or function as reader's choice. Function works stable relationships to transform an ingredient into a new result. Form is local feedback as surface topography and internal structure. Simplicity is self-contained singleness. Simple systems are composed as follows. A system is a collection of functional premises. A premise is a collection of stable relationships. Relationships assign associations between components. A component is any singleness. Names label components as reference. Syntaxes are rules that govern orders of operation. Nexuses occur where multiple elements converge in sameness, or mutual inclusions. Paradigms are patterns of divergence, or mutual exclusions. Paradoxes embody the characteristics of both paradigms and nexuses by generating patterns of convergence and divergence, or simultaneous mutual inclusions and exclusions. A schema maps a system's organization as working components and working relationships. Functional schemas are repeatable, replicable, and accept substitution. Dysfunction deforms and maintains unstable relationships. Complexity and complication are easy to confuse and are not the same. Complexity is combination. Complication is the collapse of form or function. Complexity is the result of increasing the number of working components. It increases the number of working relationships. Notice, original simplicity remains unaltered by combination. Complication is a result of dysfunction. A missing, incorrect, misplaced, disassociated, oversimplified, or otherwise mistaken component derails system function. Notice, original simplicity remains unaltered by complication. Singleness is a forever state. Complexity combines several singles by proximity, shared relationship, shared speed, and shared trajectory through space-time via stable electro-chemo-mechano-gravitational relationships. Complication is a locatable and correctable system error. If eternity is all of time, then it includes right now. Eternal relationships are forever stable. Simple eternal relationships seem to be chemical presence and the three waveforms under momentum. Complex eternal relationships include repetition, sequence, interval, and chirality. The human body forms another closed circuit of communication within the many larger. 11 organ systems compete over the same real estate and resources to fulfill niche work for the collective. The nervous system acts as president of them all by performing executive functions. It maintains a closed circuit of electromagnetic communication within the many larger. Each neuron responds to one chemical presence or one direction of change in the bandwidth of one of the three waveforms. Multiply the simple cycle by an estimated 86 billion neurons. Event stimuli travels an afferent pathway via collision, association, and switch to an interneuron, which holds the thought for just the right moment, then releases a motor command by efferent pathway. All commands are motor commands, whether walking along, playing in a music group, preparing a hot meal, eating that meal, or whatever activity. The work is to sequence precision collisions. By chimeric construction of scalable building blocks, all magnitudes of creativity are at my fingertips. From input to output, the nervous system defines reality by an involuntary mathematics. An immense quantity of reports of similar manufacture provide a platform for quick disambiguation of nexuses and paradigms via comparison with the prior and the proximal. Photoreceptors and optic nerves furnish complex dichotomies to build a scene with foreground, background, center stage, stage right, stage left, and bird's eye view. Mechanoreceptor inputs are used to map a body schema. It is cast as the main character with a sensible face. All the world is a stage because the limbic system stages reality as a visitable theater. Other characters are transposed iterations of the body schema with a visible face. Backstage learning begins in utero as reflex, before progressing into automatic associations, rote memorizations, mimicry, and parroting. Behind a tall, beautiful forehead is another closed circuit of communication within the many larger. Tucked behind the bottleneck that is the midbrain, my cerebrum, telencephalon, folds on top of my limbic system, diencephalon, as an observer. About the size of an average orange, this arrangement houses my personifications, my voice, the reader, and the volunteer. This circuit recognizes itself, each of the organ systems, and external reality. Voluntary command becomes possible when my telencephalon realizes that anything the involuntary diencephalon can do is repeatable, invocable, plannable, and refinable. By definition, a volunteer lives under no obligation. I may ride the momentum of the Big Bang or push from it to make my own move. I am an archer with my sight set on the mathematical line of infinity. The arrow of time blinds my view on future events. This blindness provides my real opportunity for volunteerism. Language is a system that references the dichotomous mathematics of the nervous system in terms of surface topography, spatial relations, motion differentials, vibration, weight, scent, flavor, and the developing moment. This is why two people who do not speak the same language can communicate via proximity, voice tone, facial expression, gesture, body language, demonstration, or illustration. Forever relationships provide leverage for verbiage to transmit complex meanings from telencephalon to telencephalon in an epic game of telephone. Private location, hardware, timeline, point of view, and trajectory forbid me from knowing the experience of another. Furthermore, the diencephalon splits private information streams in terms of visceral attraction or repulsion, in terms of serious or silly, and casts narrative snippets as meaningful or meaningless. Still more, ignoration, self-doubt, heuristics, confusion, denial, faith, numbness, nihilism, and non-action might all express in complete silence. Silence is unreadable by external review. To an internal observer, the meanings behind silences are clear. Ignoration focuses attention. It is a voluntary effort to silence some sensory signals and tune in select signals. Ignoration feels like disregarding distraction and managing personal focus dilations. Self-doubt is a sensation produced by overactivity within the amygdala, a primary processor of fear and anxiety in the limbic system. A robust amygdala will signal to check for correctness. An overworking amygdala checks too often to allow work cycle completion. Heuristics are involuntary and voluntary shortcuts based on serviceable results within margins of error. Cohesive clarity in correctness is not required for a human to function. It is required for a narrative to function. Heuristics allow slivers of personal correctness to perform as complex decision makers in real time. They are efficient in navigating usual events and may or may not function in unusual or extraordinary events. Confusion is a sensation caused by a complication at any point along the nervous system's narrative production line. Misinformation, missing information, and lost or mistaken meanings are complications. Debris floating in spinal fluid and tissue inflammation from injury, intoxication, or infection are complications. Error neurons monitor and signal when a complex narrative contradicts a sensory information stream. Denial is an involuntary inability to perceive or accept apparent facts. It functions as a biological safeguard to protect unready neural circuitry from unproductive use, biochemical storage depletions, and literal burnout. Set by Mother Nature's own hand, denial is impossible to breach. Anybody who attempts to dislodge denial risks injury and is destined to retreat in defeat. Proper treatment is to allow the space-time for denial to fall away on its own accord. Faith is complete trust or confident belief without evidence. Both humans and narratives dysfunction without at least one spot of faith. It works to transform cognitions into metacognitions, to acquire new skills, and to manage complex risk-taking. Faith functions as a nadir logic, not to be confused with practical illogics, placeholder narratives sometimes referred to as magical thinking, or nonsense, narrative code that signals its non-logic. Numbness is an absence of sensory report due to neural impairment, damage, or death. Around the turn of the millennium, Christopher Reeve demonstrated limited adult neurogenesis along his spinal cord and achieved marked improvement in his health and quality of quadriplegic life. His results defied contemporary medical sentiments. His robust patient advocacy over a decade helped to advance worldwide medical treatment of paralysis and limb loss by a century or two. Nihilism is a belief that life is meaningless. However, meaning is derived from situations of chemical presence and the three waveforms. What my body embodies, what my nervous system disambiguates, what my telencephalon imagines, is drawn from the local universe. When a nihilistic narrative is used to validate destruction or other acts which cannot be undone, meaningful changes are recorded by reality. Non-action suspends voluntary action. Inhibitory action is the biological function of inhibitory neurons and interneurons. Non-action generates sensations of delayed gratification. To an outside observer, non-action may present as one of many martial art forms. I am sealed in a privacy, as are all the other readers. For complex information to be transmitted between two telencephalons, it must transcend known and unknown membranes of silence. To perform the feat, ideas stand on their own recognizance, regardless of spokesperson. Narratives are valid, invalid, sound, unsound, coherent, incoherent, accurate, inaccurate, precise, oblique, short cycle, long cycle, or eternal cycle as a result of their self-contained structures. Whether factual, fictional, deceptive, or in denial, stories are bound to tell the truth one way or another. Truth maintains what may be called a third-grade level of complexity. An average 8 or 9-year-old can negotiate forever relationships and disambiguate reality without thought. An average 11 or 12-year-old can replicate a functional system and innovate functional substitutions. At this age, fine motor skills, physical stamina, and a simple lack of experience present greater challenges than comprehension. Puberty provides a stark episode of nervous system reformation. Prior to its onset, a reader has been fit and equipped to decode all the logics of a living reality by involuntary means. By definition, learning is permanent. The nervous system learns because it does not know how to live any other way. Unbeknownst to the learner, logic installs itself in progressive, spontaneous stages as prompted by experience. At any age, its thermal optimum and most efficient learning cycles are generated by play. Sleep is its #1 performance enhancer. I am a born storyteller, inclined to extrapolate complete information from an incomplete view. For the price of paying attention and one spot of faith, my reward is to witness my abilities. I cannot escape the gravitational field of my echo chamber, but maybe my words can. The way fingertip ridges produce low-frequency vibration as feedback for Meissner's corpuscules, my voice box bends air as feedback for listeners. Repeat call and response cycles can enclose 2 telencephalons in a circuit of communication. Written language is the most complex form of verbal language. When inscribed, a narrative realizes literal embodiment. Encrypted in a tome, a story is no longer sentenced to follow its teller to the tomb and becomes preservable across millennia. Stationary on a page, a scripture may be read by many or reread as many times as necessary for digestion, empowerment, or entertainment. Narratives command the body by involuntary means, reflex, automaticity, heuristic, and voluntary means, anticipation, planning, and faith. When believed, a narrative realizes literal personification. When disbelieved, a narrative loses its power to captivate or compel the audience. When belief is suspended, a thinker is released from conviction and free to wonder greater depths. In terms of complex relationship, narratives function as a digestive buffer membrane between my humanity and eternal logic. In Following the Equator, 1897, Samuel Clemens wrote as Mark Twain about gem-seeking at the Taj Mahal. He prefaced the section by writing as Pudd'nhead Wilson, quote, "Don't part with your illusions. When they are gone, you may still exist, but you have ceased to live," end quote. On the converse, narratives might exist outside the mind of a believer, but they cease to live. Humanity and narratives are separable. It is easy to switch belief codes and the hierarchical taxonomies prioritized by their biases. I may shop for ideas, try them on for size, buy into the ones that suit me, and ignore the ones that do not. In return, a rolling mixture of fact and fiction constructs my complex identity. I am belief, embodied and personified. Beware of expert opinions, regardless of qualification. For information to function, it must make sense inside the reader. What does it matter, that which makes sense to somebody else? Clarity can mean only one thing to me. Besides, everybody began an independent study of neurology in utero that continues through this moment. We each generate a complex report of similar manufacture. By comparing and contrasting such reports, we may gain access to complex nullifications and confirmations. A reader may keep in mind that mental health is a matter of association, and mental illness is a matter of disassociation. Both are communicable contagions in society. I have been watching with recallable memory since the early 1980s. In 2002, I witnessed the rollout of Intel's P5 Pentium 4 chip. In terms of computer-based information processing speeds and the types of human learning it allows, the Pentium chip overwhelmed all anticipations. At the time of this printing, I spot many professionals still drunk on the euphoria of this learning, and a few who are outright blotto. In 2026, I predict this information deluge has yet to crest. Another technological breakthrough that widens the information flood fueling the learning orgy cannot be ruled out as a possibility. At the end of a long day of communal self-inebriation, the Gonzo is the last body able to stand. I cast Tao Te Ching as an early Gonzo text. It casts knowledge of objective reality as a curable disease. It sticks to the one narrative that functions without bias. I do not know. This is the forever story, forever true and reliable. Tao Te Ching is considered contemporary with Sun Tzu's The Art of War. A deep love of family peace and organized society binds these two ancient works, whereas The Art of War instructs precision extrinsic instability. Tao Te Ching might be considered the art of peace, as it instructs universal intrinsic stability. Of system structure, narrative structure, and brain structure, which arrived first? Why do their forms and functions reflect one another? What makes them all work from chemical presence and the three waveforms? I don't know. I am warm water carried by cool clay. I am equal to my mass multiplied by the speed of light square. When I take my stance, I am justified by the center of Earth's gravity, justified by the barycenter Earth shares with the sun, justified by the barycenter the sun shares with the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Without these justifications, no system on Earth works. Whether gravitational, mechanical, cosmic, visceral, narrative, or literary in form, margins justify reality. I have borrowed the narratives gathered here. The English was borrowed. Scientific theories were borrowed. Tao Te Ching of ancient China was borrowed. The neural mathematics underpinning logic, perception, and language were borrowed. Allow me to return these loans with gratitude and interest to the next nearest English listener. Quote, "The important thing is to not stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. One cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery every day. Albert Einstein, Life magazine, May 2nd, 1955.